Hi, I'm Colette Mann and I play Sheila Canning in Neighbours, and here I am in London. I'm actually inside Soap headquarters. It sounds really spooky, doesn't it? And it's also bright and cheery. So I'm looking forward to answering your questions. Uh, yes, I do watch the reboot Wentworth. All the ones that are still alive of the ex-prisoner cast. We were invited to the original launch, and we were quite involved in all of the promotion and publicity for the show Wentworth. And I do love it. I think it's fantastic. I think they haven't copied Prisoner, which is a good thing because their walls don't shake. Our walls used to shake when we shut the doors, but I just think it's wonderful. They've reimagined it and they've kept a sort of respect for the old series, but rethought it, which I think is fantastic. Cheryl Stark. Well, funnily enough, when I was offered that role, the girl who played it, Caroline Gilmer, was a very, very close friend of mine, and I knew beforehand that she was already quite ill, um, and she was struck down with something that I think at one point they thought was going to be terminal. I was working on radio at the time in Melbourne on a station called 3AW, which is a talk station, and I was sitting there on a Friday afternoon and I could see through the glass that this woman was the casting person from Neighbours at the time, Jan Ruff, who I knew very well, and she was sort of waving at me and I waved back, and then I came off air at 4 o'clock and she said, what are you doing on Monday? And I said, well, funny enough, I finished because I was doing an emergency shift at AW. And I said, oh, nothing. And she said, well, now you're playing Cheryl Stark for the next 6 or 8 weeks. So it was great. And it was great. As Caroline got better, but not better enough to come back to work, I would go and talk to her about the character. And so it was quite an organic thing. And it was good to play, but I much prefer Sheila. Oh God, I'd like to see anything to do with Clive, whether it's his family. I see a lot more of him soon. Can't say too much. Yes, we're actually we talk about his family because he has a daughter who has just had a baby with her female partner, and they apparently live in New Zealand. So when we have to go on our forced breaks, apparently I go to New Zealand to meet them. But we haven't actually met them in real life yet. So yes, I would love them. And you know, if something happened to the Cannings, as in a bomb blew up in Canning Street, in Ramsay Street, I'd probably have to get another family from somewhere. And that's the beauty of soap opera. You can just pick them up in anywhere, like in a supermarket. Um, Well, no, because I'm not even sure really. It's not been really clear. Because when Jeff came back into the show as Clive, he had no clue as to what they were going to do with him, and he didn't even know that he'd been married and had children. But when we were out at the art galleries looking for Zanthi, when Zanthi went missing one of the many times she did, he talked about his son, but now he apparently has a daughter in New Zealand that has a baby. So we're deciding he's probably got about 6 children. So when we actually work out how many children he's got, well, then we'll cast them, or we'll go and tell the casting director what we think, and they'll ignore us and hire other people.
Like Sheila, we don't know how many kids Sheila's got.
Oh, no, I'm very clear on how many kids Sheila's got. Sheila's got 5.
Has she?
Yes, she's got 4 boys and a girl.
Okay.
Mm.
Didn't know that.
Mm. I decided that.
Okay.
My first job, I presume they mean my first acting job. I was in musicals in Melbourne when I was small, and I mean small, as in a child. And then I suppose my first real acting job was when I was 21, and I was cast in the original Company of Godspell in Melbourne. And I don't think I always wanted to be an actor. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer at one stage. Would have been really smart. Probably would have had a lot more money. But no, I decided after I'd done 1 year of school teaching that that definitely wasn't for me because I wanted to hit all of the children, and that's not a good thing apparently. I ended up in Godspell, and then I've been an actor ever since. I'm happy to say. Sheila's Amazing Dresses caused such a kerfuffle because when I first came into the show, we had a different wardrobe master who looked at me and thought, oh, she's a big lump of a girl. And so I basically was dressed in things like a Cirque du Soleil tent. But now we have a new wardrobe master, Nick Wakerley, who says, no, we will embrace your curves, he says. So a lot of my dresses are made by an Australian designer called Anthea Crawford, and most of the others are either Leona Edmiston, another Australian designer, or David Lawrence, or sometimes Karen Millen. So clearly Sheila is running a drug lab somewhere where she gets all this money to buy these incredibly, because they are quite expensive dresses. But I do like the way they do her because she's sort of thankfully now moved with the times. She'll have to wear her hair out and, not up in a smart French roll that she wore for 3 years that I just hated. But anyway, that's part of being an actor. You sometimes have to do things you don't like. They're the opposition. Sometimes people do go between the two. No, not really. I'm very happy at Neighbours, and as I said, I think what sets Neighbours apart from nearly every other soap in the world that I know of is that we have quite a large comic element, and I do love doing comedy, and I think we take ourselves probably a little less seriously, and so I'm not saying, if I suddenly got kicked out of Neighbours and they offered me a job in Home and Away, I would say no, because a girl has to eat, and as you can see, I do eating very well. But yeah, I prefer Neighbours to Home and Away myself. Not really. I know everybody wants to think we're all great friends, but it was 40 years ago. Move on. It's going to be apparently the 40th reunion next February, and of course Val Lehman, who played B. Smith, who's obsessed, is desperately organising a reunion that she keeps telling me I have to be at, because I don't do a lot of that sort of stuff. I've never come over here to do, meets and greets as that character because it was 40 years ago and I'm different now. But I occasionally, although Jackie Woodman and I were never in Christmas together. Look, I saw Val briefly because she came into the show for about 2 or 3 weeks. But it's like it was in my first marriage. I hadn't had children. It was 40 years ago. Oh my God, no. No. Sheila and Moneybags have a really interesting love-hate relationship. We were wrapped together in the freezer room one night for a whole night, and we were wrapped in plastic, which actually took about 6 or 7 hours to shoot. So we get on very well together because, of course, Stefan played Doreen's boyfriend in that show, Prisoner, and he was in the show for 12 weeks, and it was probably one of his first jobs ever. And so we've known each other for 40 years, and so we get on terribly well together. I had scenes with him actually 2 days ago in Australia, and we were laughing, and I was telling him that I would say to people that there's no way in the world Sheila would be caught dead with money bags. No, I hate them. I find them just a little bit creepy, and I find the whole obsession with the writers and the gnomes just a little bit weird. But it's what you have to do, and they pay you to do it. And so I find anybody that puts those sort of things in their garden a bit weird. But and there was an obsession about 3 or 4 years ago where people took gnomes overseas with them and took photos of them in front of things like the Eiffel Tower and Buckingham Palace and things like that. I think people sometimes need a little bit of psychiatric help. But Sheila doesn't, of course. She's terribly, terribly balanced. I loved working with Ryan. I think he found me a little confusing at times because I tend to, because I come from theatre, and so I'm used to finding what you're doing and finding what you're doing with the character. And so I'm in rehearsal stage when we're rehearsing something. I fiddle around a bit and sort of look for where I'm going to play it. And then when the red light turns on, because the crew will say I'm a red light actress, I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but when the red light turns on, I actually put it all together. And Ryan was not used to that, although he does work with Eve a lot, and she's very similar to me in that way because we both trained in theatre. But I think he thought in some of the scenes I was doing with him, is she ever going to get it together? And then the red light goes on, and it all comes together, and he was just flabbergasted the first time we did a scene where I had lots to talk about. But I loved working with him. And the other person that I'd really like to work with, but they'll never put us together, is Leo, because I think Sheila would straighten Leo out. Plus, I really like Tim Carno as a person, so we'd have great fun together. My favourite thing to do behind the scenes, talk. I know that you're shocked by that. We do a lot of sitting around. It depends on your day, really, because sometimes you can have a really full day, like coming up, which don't know, no, I can't talk about that, but coming up, we have a very big storyline with the Cannings, and that day we had 2 days of 13 scenes in each day, and we're in every scene, and that's exhausting, but it's exhilarating as well, because you don't get any downtime. It's the days where you have a scene maybe on location at 7:30 in the morning, and then you don't have another one in studio till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So usually I go away and exercise or shop or write. I like to write because I like to be doing something. I can't just sit around. It just saps your energy. People keep asking this about Clive and Shelley. I think when people get married on soap, it's the death of them. I shouldn't say that because Aaron and David are getting married, but I sort of feel like it leaves you not very far to go. And we've already got the established older couple in Alan and Jackie playing the Kennedys. So I don't know. I don't want him to go. I want him to still be there, but I don't know whether we should get married or not. I mean, she was married to Frank, and he died, and also up until Clive, every other man she's been with has died too. I pointed that out to Jeff Payne when he arrived. So we're just hoping they don't kill him off. But I mean, no, I think it's interesting and modern that they're an older couple. Well, she's definitely older. And they don't have to get married. Because, I mean, they're not going to have children. I mean, that would be a miracle. Goodness. Scientific miracle. Thank you.